Hey, it's Brian and Chris here from Resolve Technology, and today we want to talk about a new memo that came out. I was perusing the web, if you will, and I noticed on December 21st, the government released this new tool for Microsoft 365 tenants, which basically most small, medium, and even large businesses are running Microsoft 365 these days. If you're not running Microsoft 365, you're likely running like Google Workspaces. But the majority of businesses are running Microsoft 365. So they have this specifically for the Microsoft product. And basically, it comes from the CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, which basically is designed to help businesses secure their IT environments, because a lot of the stuff that we do in the business world applies to other parts of the economy, like the government sector. Like we deal with machine shops that have tools and products and things that are used in the defense industry. So things like this are great. Whenever we see stuff like this, it's free, it's from the government. Basically what it is it's a bunch of scripts that your IT people can run to they run against the Microsoft 365 tenant, and it gives you, a bunch of output, or basically a report telling you where your deficiencies are on the tenant and how to lock it down. So I thought this was really neat. They started this, I think, last year. We haven't had a chance to play with it, but at some point we're gonna run this against one of our demo tenants. But Chris, maybe you could shed a little bit of more light on it, put a little more flavor on it.
Yeah, so the scuba gear is just an assessment tool they have to help organizations assess their Microsoft 365 services and going up against the recommended policies that you're talking about here. From what I can tell, yeah, it's using some PowerShell, and it's also leveraging like Microsoft Graph API to hook into the Microsoft tenant. So it needs certain permissions in Azure there, or Entra, whatever you want to call it now. And they have this publicly available on GitHub here, what the tool does, and they give you a rundown, what you need to download. It's pretty detailed. So like, any IT person should be able to, run away with all this documentation here on how to get how to generate these reports. I got a little screenshot here how it works. And I don't know if you guys can see that well, but it's like a little CISA report there, baseline conformance reports, and it'll tell you if you passed or failed. They also go into detail, like if you don't have certain licensing, you might fail a compliance section. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. They got quite a bit here.
So basically, this is likely similar to the Microsoft baseline. What do they call it? Baseline. What is Microsoft baseline security?
Let's see. I don't know if I know what you're talking
You
about.
know what I'm talking. They give you a security score, basically,
Oh, this
right?
yeah,
So
Microsoft secure score. Yeah.
yes, the secure score. So this seems like it's a little bit more drilled down, not quite as extensive, and maybe easier to read the reports and things like that. One of the things to keep to bear in mind with the Microsoft, whether it's the Microsoft Secure Score or it's the CISA version, the Scuba Gear, you have to remember that some of this stuff, while it's recommendations, you're going to have to be careful, because some of the recommendations might interfere with productivity on the user side. So there's always a balance with security to make sure that, yes, you want to be secure, but at the same time, you just don't want to blindly implement any of this stuff without, checking with your other staff and your IT people to make sure that it's not going to prohibit you in some areas from getting to certain parts of the business. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yeah, another thing too, especially with Microsoft 365, with modern authentication now, there's still a lot of, different companies that may be using something like legacy uh, authentication. And when you mentioned the secure score part of what's built in there into the tenant, that they usually want you to use modern authentication, disable legacy authentication, and enforce MFA tenant wide. And that can sometimes, depending on who's setting it up and how aware they are of the environment. You might need to be careful with what you disable there if you're using things like legacy authentication, which, I mean, they're probably, inevitably going away anyways at some point.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, okay, so we'll wrap it up, Chris, but if anybody's having a problem with tightening up their tenant, their Microsoft 365 tenant, just give us a shout. Stuff we deal with all the time, and balancing security versus productivity and all that sort of stuff. So thanks for your help, Chris. I appreciate
Yep.
it.
Have a good one.